Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Uncovering the Underground Radio Podcast Show. As always, I'm your host, Skippy Yickham of Brutal Business Entertainment, and I want to thank you for listening to the show tonight. Whether you are listening live or streaming and downloading this after the fact, please hit the share button, the like button, and the follow button. Whatever buttons they give you, as I always say, click them, because as you do that, that moves us up the ranks in the podcast community, and the more that we move up the ranks, the more people that find us and listen to us, and ultimately the bigger and better things we can do with the show. Now, with that being said, we are aired on all online streaming devices, whether it be iTunes or iHeartRadio, Apple Music, Google Play, Spotify, you name it, we are on it. So you can listen to us on your favorite platforms. And if you listen to us on Spreaker, which is our hosting site, which is spreaker.com, or Spreaker on the app market, you are able to talk to us during the shows when they're live and leave us comments, leave us your thoughts, and even ask our guests each week questions that you want during the interview, and we will read them off. Now, tonight's episode is a little bit different. Every once in a while, some of you know, we do a special episode where it's pre-recorded and we release it at a later date. So if you are listening to this and want to leave comments on the show, we will do our best to answer you back on those. But this specific episode, if you're listening, is not live. So if you ask us a question, we will not be able to read it during the show. If you are new to our show, we do air every Thursday night from 8 to 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. From 8 to 9 p.m., we do uninterrupted underground music. And from 9 to 10:30, we do in-depth interviews with all kinds of underground personalities. Whether it be rappers or bands, whether it be models, actors, athletes, porn stars, you name it, we've had them on the show. We continue to have them on the show. If you are interested in being on the show, having your music featured on the show, want to drop us a shout-out audio for the show, or just have ideas on how to make the show better or what you would like to see on the show, you can drop us a line at brutalbusinessent@gmail.com. Again, that is brutalbusinessent@gmail.com. Check out that and everything else that we got going on, whether it be the music shows, the wrestling and freak shows, whether it be the model shoots that are dropping, or the lingerie calendar coming out in 2020, which we are right now doing pre-sales on, so hit us up if you're interested in getting that. Or it be, anything else in between that we're doing with the radio and everything else that we do at Brutal Business. You can find out about all that upcoming news and music and events at www.teambrutalbusiness.com. One last time, that is www.teambrutalbusiness.com. I want to thank quickly our sponsors that we have on the show, Tattooed Scumbag Apparel, who makes hoodies, beanies, hats, socks, sweatpants, you name it, they make it. They're comfortable. I love their gear. As I said last week's show, I was at a music festival about 2 weeks ago. It got down to 40 degrees in the tent that I was sleeping in, and you found me, if you looked in my Tattooed Scumbag hoodie, my beanie. I was completely wrapped up in the gear of the company that sponsors me, not for that fact, because no one even seen me at that point. It's just because truly away from the cameras, I am wearing their gear as well. It's comfortable. It's made of good quality material. It's supporting local business. And if you're a tattooed scumbag like me, you'll love their gear. Go check them out at www.tattooedscumbag.com. And if you put in promo code BBE10, you'll get 10% off of your overall order. And I think you'll love their stuff. So check it out. We also want to thank our sponsors at Roush Designs, R3 Graphics, Legion Artworks, and 5 Milligram Artworks. We couldn't do our show and do everything that we do on a daily basis without these guys helping out with art and different things that they do behind the scenes. So, show them a lot of love and, certainly give them a like on their page. So as you know, as I already mentioned, every week we have an amazing guest on the show, and we interview them, talk topics and discussions, and get to know them as an artist and as a person behind the scenes. And this week I'm very excited to bring on an old friend of mine who we've done a lot of work over the years together. We haven't gotten contact with one another recently, so it's great to be able to reconnect tonight and get to talk to one another, let you find out about this gentleman, because he is a very accomplished artist in the scene. And I'm going to let you know a little bit about him now, and we're going to jump right into the interview with him. So we have J Pad Da Juggernaut on the line tonight, and there's very little that J Pad Da Juggernaut has not accomplished in this lifetime. A seasoned producer, artist, musician, engineer, videographer, editor, and DJ. He is one of the most complete package the world has yet to discover. He has the beat arsenal that is quite impressive, with a track record that expands over 20 plus years. Recently, J Pad has produced for powerhouses such as Miss Toy, Emmanuel, Project Pat, Gilly, and the late Slim Duncan. Hailing from Erie, Pennsylvania, and making a name for himself via Pittsburgh and Atlanta, In addition, he has won and has placed as a finalist in various producer competitions on the East Coast, such as iStandard, with a significant appearance at the latest producer beat auction in Atlanta. He is a founder and affiliate of Tree Shack Beats, North Coast Beats, and Beat Intellects. Truly gifted and blessed, you now know, J Pad Da Juggernaut, and you certainly will after this interview. Like I said, this gentleman's catalog is extensive, and we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight, how he got started, what he has coming up, and much, much more. Without further delay, let me introduce to you J Pad Da Juggernaut. How you doing tonight, bro?
Hey, peace, Skippy. How you doing?
I'm doing very good, man. It was great to get you on the show. I know it's been a few years since we really got to connect, other than a few hellos and highs here and there. And it's certainly great to be able to get you on the show tonight to get the people out there finding out about your music, about your beats, and about who you are.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you guys having me. Uncovering the underground with Skippy Ickham. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, thank you so much. Let's jump right into it. I obviously have read during your bio that you've been in the game for quite a long time at this point, 20 plus years. And
yeah, closer to 30.
Wow, that's impressive. I know you've been at it for a long time, and honestly, like I said, your catalog speaks for itself. What have you noticed? I just want to jump right into it. What have you noticed over the years being the big change in the scene from when you started till now, as far as not only the way you have to market and promote yourself, but just the changes in general as you make your music that you've had to adapt to?
Oh, okay. Well, that's a great question. First and foremostly, I believe that one of the main things I've seen that have transpired and changed over the years is that it's become more and more of an independent artist market, if you will. It's no longer about seeking the big record deal. It's no longer about, actually trying to beat down the door of a record company with a demo tape. They are actually, there's people out there now that are actually pursuing this on an independent level and actually succeeding. For example, Macklemore. We can go to that as an example in a mold. He was an independent guy, came all the way in, won Grammys. So that's what I've noticed, and I made my adjustments based off of that. I just started looking at my business like, you know what, I'm the label. I'm the label, and I can control the shots, and I do the research, and I find out what's going on with this, how to run these things successfully, and that's what I've been able to do, man. I've been able to just reinvent myself with that, and look at it more like it's an independent artist world, and just exist in that.
No, absolutely. It has certainly changed, as you said. There's no longer necessarily the need for a parent company or for a label to watch over you and manage your artistic skills and abilities. You now have full control with social media, with different apps and different programs out there. Absolutely. That you can record yourself, you can produce yourself, you can market and manage yourself without the need of another hand in the pot, so to speak, and you
Absolutely.
Can push that. So that's very impressive.
And I would like to add, Skippy, that absolutely it has put people in complete control of their destiny in a lot of different ways. There's a lot of tools out there for people to tap into that they can actually learn the business, execute these type of moves, and really act like a small independent label of their own. And I encourage people to look into these things, look into your registrations, look into the publishing. Look into the licensing. Look into all these different things, and most importantly, affiliate yourself with a performance rights organization, so that way you're putting stuff out the proper way.
Agreed, because too many people put music out, but they don't do, it's great to be able to be the person that says, I drop a new single every single week. Well, that's great, but you know what? If you are not doing the steps behind that to protect your music, to put it out properly, and in the proper light, then it doesn't matter if you're putting a song on every week. I'd rather put out one song a year, but do it correctly and do it properly, than put out a song a week and not protect myself as an artist.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it any better myself, Skippy. It's exactly that particular thing. I've learned now that it's one record at a time. It's not necessarily like a day and age where an album needs to be force fed on the public. Really, it's getting back to what I call it a recycling, because if you think about it, in the 60s and the 50s and places and things of that nature, yes, they had albums, but they were really on campaigns for singles. You know what I mean? Like, they would tour around the country and perform singles perform singles, and that's it. And it really was something that was a big way to step it up and start the whole entire process. And so now it's to a point now where it's recirculating, and now I think it's a singles world again. I'm right along with you, Skippy. I'd rather put out one record, push that for the entire year, see how well it does, and then go from there. Instead of trying to, like I said, once again, force feeding what I consider force feeding. You know what I'm saying? Because today's attention span obviously is short. And so since we know that the attention span is a lot shorter, I think trying to grasp onto one in particular thing is sufficient enough for this day and age.
It is, because we talked about it on one of my last shows, that unfortunately, as you had mentioned, the attention span of people now is very, very short, and you can put out 3 good singles and get as much attention from those 3 good singles as a 15-song full-length album.
Boy, I'm telling you, people are really succeeding, and they're not putting albums out, man, especially in our genre of music, which is hip-hop. And hip-hop and rap itself, it has become more so condensed like that. And now the artists you see succeeding are succeeding off of singles, not even really putting albums out. The demand actually has to be there for the album to make sense. So that being the case, this is a singles world, as I mentioned before, and I think that it's a great mold, if you will, for artists that are up and coming or wondering how this stuff works. I think that it's very important for them to understand it's one record at a time, and I think you'll be straight.
I think so too. I mean, you just got to focus on the project at hand. You got to do it and do it properly. Like I said, not only recording wise, writing wise, you want to make sure your material is as tight as can be, but then before releasing and being in such a rush to release it, you can release a nice single, let them marinate on that for a while you take care of other business behind the scenes, as you said, making sure your music's licensed, making sure you're protected, and then you drop the next single. But if you do it properly, you can drop a single every 2 months, have enough buzz in between, then when you drop the new one, it's still there. The hunger for the new music is still there, and you continue to ride off singles. So one album's worth of music could actually be a year and a half worth of single drops, compared to dropping the album and 4 months later people were bored with the album. It's crazy how that works. It's almost a brainwashing of sorts that they'll get old with the album.
Better myself, bro.
It's truly crazy how it's changed, the trends that have changed. Now, obviously, you have watched changes over the years. Now, how has marketing yourself changed over the years, from being in the days of walking out and handing out a demo or a mixtape to being able to click a button and launch it to 15 sites at one time?
Oh, absolutely. It has changed dramatically, just by technology advancing itself the way that it has. And I really consider it a blessing. And people that haven't really had a chance or never were in that era where it really got its early start never really knew how tedious of a chore it was just to have a great record, just to be able to have a good mix on the record. I mean, when I first started, man, my first recording system was a cassette 4-track. And for people that don't know, dealing with analog tape, boy, you get a lot of generation loss. You get a lot of things that were maybe clear on the first pass, but then you have to go back over again and again and again and again. And it does tend to affect the sound quality of your music. But now you have all this great technology, everything that I used to have to want to buy, or that I had a desire to buy, let me say it that way. It's all contained in the softwares now of the DAWs. So, that being the case, this is really a great time for independent music. Like, you could be sitting at your desk at home and you can make a fantastic recording. You don't necessarily have to go run to the studio and spend the big dollars again, and over and over and over. You can actually utilize that money for the smart thing, which is the marketing and the promoting. And that's a very important thing to say too, as well, is that they've actually opened up platforms where you can market and promote yourself by yourself. You don't really need an extra company. All you need is a little bit of know-how. It's almost like I told people all the time. Like, if you're at McDonald's and you don't know how to mop the floor, they're going to fire you. So it's the same thing in the music business. You just got to know what, just like Skippy said, guys, the protocol of putting your music out the right way. If you release something properly the right way, and it really hurts my soul when I see artists just put videos out. They're too quick to rush and say, all right, this is the way I'm going to get on. I'm going to put a video out. I'm going to do a single. I'm going to get these hundreds of thousands of hits on YouTube, and then somebody's going to come calling me. Well, you're sadly mistaken. Nobody's going to come calling you for those few hundred thousands of hits. And as a matter of fact, what you should be looking at is, even if it is a few 100,000 hits, if the registration is on the record, that's when it makes sense. That's when you start to get a return on your investment. But if you don't know anything about the publishing game, if you don't know anything about how to protect your music properly, then all those videos are doing is they're good for, oh, wow, look at that. He got 200,000 views, or he got 250,000 views. But what they don't really realize is those streams could be counting towards a royalty if you have everything set up and structured up the proper way.
Exactly, because it's good for you if you do it that way for popularity, but it's not good for you for business. And it's great to be the guy that everybody says, oh, you see that video, that video's sick. This guy's, out of nowhere, he's killing it.
Yes.
But at the same time, how long can you continue to kill it if you're not making the funds to be able to invest back into your music?
That's what the problem is. And I think that that's overall in this genre of music, which is the most popular genre of music in the world. There is in America, there's a severe lack of knowledge and education on how the business actually works. And it is a business, and I don't want to make no mistake about that. I want people to understand on this program that this is a business. It's great to be in the studio, feel good, make great records, but if you're not looking at a return on the investment of the time, the effort, the money that you put into these studio sessions, then you're really, really just shooting yourself in the foot. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, it's kind of like a catch-22, because, a lot of people will say, oh man, but we made this great record here and we made this great record here. I said, but did it return a profit for you? If it didn't return a profit for you, I would have to say that it wasn't a success. And make no mistake about it, people, we are in the business of music, not just music. We're not just musicians. We're not just people that pick up microphones and traject stuff through the mic to make people feel us. This is a business. And if you don't treat it as such, it'll just be looked at as like it's just like a pastime, like it's a hobby. You know what I mean? And that's cool if that's what you want to do. If you're comfortable in life where you just want to do it as a hobby, that's fine with me. But as far as me and my people are concerned, and I learned a lot from dealing with the industry artists, being in Atlanta, being around these situations, especially with Miss Toy. Shout out to Miss Toy, because she definitely paved the way for me to understand what royalties and things of that nature entail. Because if people don't know who Miss Toy is, she was the one that was on the big record that Ice Cube had on the Friday soundtrack. You Could Do It, Put Your Back Into It. Now, her voice was the voice. She was the one that's doing the hook and doing the refrains and things of that nature. But she taught me a lot about how this works. And I'm just going to pass the information along, because I think that that's also an important thing too. Like, they got a lot of hidden information because they know it's a popular genre, and the people that are in the know say, all right, there's a lot of people that don't know. So we'll place this high tax on these folks just to learn the information that they can easily be reading themselves, which there's a bunch of free publications out there for us to tap into. And if we just look and just get a little bit of the lazy bone out of our body and do a proactive approach, just like you're in the studio, you have to be proactive with the business side and learning how this stuff works, and then take the proper steps to protect your music. And then I can guarantee you'll see for yourself whether this is for you or if it's not. And if it's not, then at least you know that you did it the right way. And you never know when a record is going to catch fire. You just never know. You just have to continuously believe in your product, push it like it is a product. And I told people this the other day on social media, Skippy. I said, you know what? It's popularity and likes on social media are not going to get you what you're looking for. But marketing and promoting definitely will. And so I just wanted to make sure that I put that out there for the people and make sure that they understand that it's critical that you understand that this is a business. It's not just let's go out and let's have a ball and let's go entertain these people. But if you're entertaining them, you should be compensated for that entertainment. And it goes without saying.
It absolutely does. And the problem, I think, is with a lot of artists is we have come to a point in the world and social media, online, that no one has patience anymore and everyone expects it to happen overnight. So they put out a good record and 3 months go by and it's barely got any hits on it. And You know,
Yes.
they're,
Yes.
oh my God, no one's paying attention to me. It's not working. I didn't get famous already, and it blows my
Yes.
mind because it takes years and years, or sometimes lifetimes of work and struggle to put into it, and you
Oh,
still don't
sure.
get signed.
This is a marathon, Skippy. This is a marathon.
It
Anybody
absolutely
that thinks
is.
that this is a sprint to the finish line, you are sadly mistaken. It is a marathon. It can take you a lifetime to get where you need to be, but it can take a snap of a finger for you to go that fast. And so you have to understand that, and understand that the grind does take time. It takes effort. It takes a lot of calculating and smart planning, and really understand that you're in this for the long haul. You don't look at it like it's something. And you know what that is, to be honest with you, Skippy? That's what you call habit. Habits are practiced. And if you practice good habits, you're going to get great results. And if you do not practice good habits, obviously you're going to, I know I sound remedial when I say that, but this is absolutely true when it comes to this business. And the reason why it's so amazing is because people do lack the knowledge and the education. And then, of course, not having good, what you call etiquette. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to these things, like doing the research, taking the time out to understand what kind of business you're actually in. You know what I mean? It's really, really disheartening, and it's defeating. But I think that a new regime is coming. You know what I mean? A new type of thing is coming where people are going to be more educated about this business. And it's all up to the individual, though. I will make sure that I say that clearly. This is all based off of habit. The reason why you see people not succeeding is bad habit. If you can change the bad habit, you will have a different outcome. And it's just that simple.
You certainly will. One of the bad habits I notice people do a lot is they will spend money on the artwork for the single that's coming out. They'll spend money on the beat. They'll spend money
Mm-hmm.
on the recording and the mastering and mixing. They'll put out a great product, but then they drop it and put absolutely nothing into the marketing. So they'll say, I'm $300, $400 deep between beat, between recording, between mixing and
Yes.
mastering, maybe even more. And then they drop it. They promote it themselves on Facebook. They make some posts. They put a tweet up, but they don't put any actual money into the marketing. And then they wonder why there's failure. It doesn't, obviously you want to have a good product to push first and foremost. That's important.
Mm-hmm.
Because even if you have 1,000 fans right off the bat listening to you, put out a shit product, then obviously that's not going to help you. But
Exactly.
having a good product is important. But the biggest bad habit I notice people doing is the fact that they put out a great product with absolutely no money put into marketing. And you should be spending every bit of as much money into your marketing as you are your production, if not
Absolutely.
actually double that.
Couldn't have said it any better myself. And you know what else I think it is too, Skippy? I think it actually is a fear. You'd be surprised in this day and age what people are afraid of. They're afraid to do the research. They're afraid to get the knowledge. It must be a fear, in my opinion, at this point, because they've been told, oh, it costs a shitload of money just to do this, or it costs a shitload of money. Actually, it does not. What you really have to do is just do the research and understand what marketing is for this particular business. Once you learn the marketing and you learn promotion, then you get it, and then you won't have to rely on other people to do it for you. You'll comfortably be able to do it yourself by knowing the techniques, knowing the same techniques that somebody else will charge you for. As long as you know them, you won't need those people, and you won't need to make those unnecessary investments. The only reason why people bang people over the head in this business is because they know that people are afraid to go take the time out to do the research to understand exactly what these people understand. And I had to actually say that I can safely hold myself accountable, because at one point in time in my career, Skippy, I was the same way. I was relying on others to show me what it was that I needed to know based off the fact that I'd be willing to show you. And that's not how this works. You have to take the time out and you have to do the research. I'm actually doing research and reading every single day. For those people that don't know, have a website, have a place where you can merchandise your own material. You should have a .com in this day. In 2019, if you're an artist and you do not have a .com, you're doing yourself a huge disservice. So what I have to honestly, and custombeatking.com, that's my website. You can go check it out at any given point in time if you need an idea of an example of what a website should look like when you're marketing and promoting yourself as a business. But you need to have that. You need to have your publishing. You need to have your paperwork straight if you're deciding to do business as in your state or across the board. Trademarking, licensing, all of these things. Skippy, I found places that there's free information on all of it. And all it takes is just taking the lazy bone out of your body and reading a little bit, and you'll get a lot further down the road. And I think that that's what's stopping people. It's just a fear and a phobia of the ignorance and what I mean by ignorance, because it's taken out of context so much that I want to put it back in perspective. The real definition of ignorant is just a lack of knowledge and understanding. So all you have to do is eradicate that, become an understander, and become understanding and understand the knowledge. You know what I'm saying? Like become knowledgeable, become understandable. I guarantee you some of those things will fall by the wayside and you'll begin to succeed in your business.
You will, because it, as you said, research is a key component. There's a lot of things. People only ever see it at face value when they start out in a lot of cases that, oh, I'm writing music, I'm recording music. They don't think of it, okay, well, I need to know the business side. I need to constantly do my homework and research. I need to try things and find out what works, what doesn't work. I need to do my own promotion. But it's every bit of all of those things. You have to constantly be researching to be the best that you can be on all subjects, because, as we said,
absolutely,
if you start taking away the necessity to rely on others and only rely on yourself, and you know these things and you sharpen your blades, then you're deadly. You're a deadly force to reckon with, because you don't need to rely on others, because let's face it, people in life will let you down. But if you know that you're strong-willed and you won't let yourself down, then you are unstoppable. So whenever you know how to market, you know how to promote, you know how to record and mix and master,
advertise yourself.
Exactly.
Yes.
All of those things are very important.
All the businesses, if you think about it, Skippy, it happens across the board for any business that's out here. Not just the business of music, but any business. They rely on marketing, advertising, promoting. It's the only way that even the medical profession, it doesn't matter what profession that you're in, these people rely on these particular resources in order to draw more attention to what their product is, to what their business is. And we just have to follow the protocol, and I think everybody will be fine.
I agree with that as well. And one of the things you mentioned that I think a lot of people out there will hear, but they still won't make a move on it, is the .com page. And a lot of people will say, well, why do I need a website? I got Facebook, I got Instagram, I got a following on there. Well, here's the problem, folks. There are algorithms that slow you down and stop you from reaching the target audiences that you want to be reaching. So you have 5,000 fans, but only 50 of them see your posts on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
Whereas a .com page is unfiltered. If you can get that .com page to people's hands and in their foreseeable sight so that they're checking it out, they are going to be able to see 100% of what you drop. All of those things. When you have a follow button, or like on my website, you have an email subscription. When you sign up to that, that's the other part of it. It's a two-part system. One is our websites. You can go to it. You see it all. You're not blocked and stuck aside from seeing what you want to see from the artist that you like. But then whenever you sign up to our email subscription, we send you out a monthly email blast to let you know everything that's dropped in the last month, everything coming in the next month. So you're always up to date on everything. And the great thing about email, folks, is email cannot be filtered, like I said. So whenever you send me an email or I send you an email, you see 100% of what I sent you, not 10% of it like these websites and social media platforms do. So that is why you should have a .com.
Myself, brother.
Absolutely. There's just the do's and the don'ts. And I mean, it comes with experience. So if you're listening out there and you're newer to the music side of things and you think it's a lot to take on and your head's spinning right now, just take it step by step. None of us got to where we were overnight. It took years and years of work, and we're still constantly learning. I always said if you get to a stage where you're no longer learning, then it's probably time to hang it up.
Absolutely. Or if the fire's just not there. And you have to be honest and brutally honest with yourself. But as Skippy said, and I fully co-sign that, you just have to do your research. Do your research, do your homework, be a student. Be a student. The best teachers are the best students. Trust me, the only reason why I can traject these messages properly is because I've been a good student. And that's all you have to do is be a student of the game, absorb as much knowledge as you can, move smartly, calculate properly, and make sure that you're protected on all fronts, and you'll be fine.
Exactly, because as you said, everybody wants to be a teacher, but all teachers were at one point a student, and all teachers, if you were a good teacher, are constantly researching to be a good teacher. You can't just know the things you know, never learn another thing again, and teach that for years and years to come, because things change, things evolve. So you were constantly learning and adapting yourself. Therefore, you were always a student. So for those that just want to be the teacher, not put in the work, you're looking at it from the wrong perspective. You need to know that you constantly have to sharpen those blades, or they will get dull.
Constantly, bro. I agree with you, man. Couldn't have said it any better myself.
Now, jumping into your beginnings of music, what is it that sparked your interest to want to get into music? What is, the starting steps of J Pad Da Juggernaut?
Oh my. Oh man, this is a I'm gonna try to condense this down because it's a nice little healthy chunk of what actually turned me into what I am. But I started playing music in the 3rd or 4th grade. And the first instrument that I picked up was the trombone. I still play it today. But I had an affection for music, though, even prior to that, Skippy. I just had parents that really had an eclectic taste in music. I wasn't just listening to James Brown. I wasn't just listening to funk and soul. I also had the Fabulous Dorseys. I listened to jazz. I listened to Afro-Cuban jazz. I listened to Latin music. I listened to rock and roll. I listened to a little bit of, being from Erie, Pennsylvania, all they had is top 40 radio up there. So all I knew was a mixture of things. I listened to Journey just as much as I listened to Al Green. I listened to, I heard all the Motley Crues and things of that nature. You know what I mean? Because that's what we were grown up on. And so I just had an affection for music that was uncanny, man. And I took that with me and kind of like stuck with me through all my schooling. Played in the band all the way through high school. Made district band in high school. I actually put the trombone down for a few years after that when I got into college, but then I started getting into the music production type of thing. And then I started learning how to play the keyboard, and I learned how to play other instruments like percussion. You know what I'm saying? I would play the drums in church sometimes, not well, but I played them. And, you know what I'm saying? So those things started my foundation. And then like I said, by the time I got to like maybe my, third year in college, I acquired my first multi-tracker, which was and sequencing keyboard, that is. I'd acquired an old like Yamaha drum machine, a sequencing keyboard. I had a Gemini sampler. If anybody doesn't know what a Gemini sampler is, a Gemini sampler is something that DJs used to have in their setup. And it had like 3 or 4 banks, and each one of those banks had 2 seconds of sample time. So what I would have to cleverly do is I would have to manually, and this was crazy because you would have to sync in MIDI, really MIDI. The old MIDI is not like the new MIDI. The old MIDI, you would have to just communicate all of your instruments together. And then I would have to manually trigger these samples from these 2-second sample banks on this Gemini sampler when I was actually laying the song down from the front to the rear. Like we had no sequencing, none of that stuff. The sequencer was you. You had to manually tap these things in. And I guess that's what made me really what I was, you know what I'm saying, in my foundationary things. Then after some time, after consistency in the early 90s, that's when I really broke on the scene as a producer up in Erie, Pennsylvania. Shout out to Erie. That's my hometown. And so, you know, I broke on the scene up there. I was one of the guys that was on the early end of music production, taking the leadership role with that and producing just a bunch of artists over the years, Skippy. That kind of like built my foundation. I always had an affection for also rapping. So at some point in time, it got to a point where I'd say maybe, I want to say in the early 2000s is when I really started trying my hand at being a rapper as well as a producer. And I met a lot of resistance from that at first because, you know, of course the artists are like, but no, you're the producer. You can't rap. You shouldn't be rapping. I mean, you sound good, but you know, it's like, you know, you got to pick a role. I was the kind of guy that kind of went against the rule. And I said, you know what? I'm going to be both. I'm going to be an artist and I'm going to be a producer as well. So, you know, through the 2000s, I honed my skills with rapping. Then I started acquiring more instruments. Even based off the other instruments that I wanted to learn, I just started picking them up and I started learning them. Now I know how to play bass, know how to play a little bit of slide guitar, trombone, some keys, You know what I'm saying? You said it in front of me. I'm going to try to play it. But it was at first, when I first got my name J Pad. Here's an interesting story right here too. The name J Pad actually came from me being called Paddington Bear. Like in high school, I used to wear the fisherman hats because EPMD. If anybody doesn't know anything about hip hop history, EPMD was one of the most successful duos in rap of all time. And at the time when I was in high school, they were the new guys on the block. You know, there was Run DMC and they were a little bit older, but here comes EPMD with a brand new style, back and forth, kind of hardcore hip hop, which if you will. And I used to me and my boy Larry, we used to wear the fisherman hats. And so that's what our style was. Everybody else had the Kangos, we had the fisherman hats. And I used to turn mine up in the front, and all the little girls in high school used to say I looked like Paddington Bear. So it just stuck with me. Everybody just started calling me Paddington. So my first producer name was Paddington Bear. And then I changed that up when the guys around me that I finally met in the early 90s, they were like, look, nah, man, we don't want to call you Paddington no more. Your name is J Pad. You know what I'm saying? We're going to have you Pad for short. You know what I'm saying? So that's how J Pad came around. So at first I was J Pad the Bear. And then I say in the mid 2000s, when I really started killing shit, Skippy, I started really getting nice on the beats. I said, you know what? What's the best way to describe my style? And I started looking up words in the dictionary, and I found Juggernaut in the dictionary. Then I remembered the Juggernaut character from Marvel Comics, and I remembered how unstoppable he really was. And really, the definition of a Juggernaut, for those who don't know, is it's anything that crushes and destroys anything in the pathway. So it could be a wrecking ball. It could be a, you know what I'm saying? It could be a bulldozer. It could be anything, you know, a bomb. That could be a Juggernaut. So I looked at my style like it was just an unstoppable style. And so that's when I started calling myself J Pad Da Juggernaut. And that's pretty much, you know, to this point, that's where I've been rocking with. And just keep evolving, keep on, you know what I'm saying, refining myself, keep reinventing myself, because now I'm 47 years old. But I also wanted to stress this. There is no timetable on a career. The timetable only exists in you. If you say that you are who you say you are, then be that no matter how old you get. No matter how, if you want to keep rapping until you're 90 years old, by all means, God bless you, keep on doing it. Because I guarantee you, I'll still be rapping. I'll probably still be rapping years from now, man. But it's just because it's all a mind state. It's all within you. There is no timetable. If that was the case, then we need to tell the Rolling Stones to go somewhere. If that's the case, then we need to tell Paul McCartney to go somewhere. If that's the case, then we need to tell some of these older artists like the Four Tops, the Motown sound. You know, they're not going anywhere. They're going to still play until they go to the grave. So I just say stick with it. You know what I'm saying? There's no timetable. And yeah, that's how I came about, man.
No, that's awesome. Wise words from a wise man. I mean, I've known you for years now, and I've never, folks, this is why I love the show, because even whenever you do know someone and you know them well, you find out things about them during an interview like this that you didn't know. And obviously, I interview a lot of people that I've never talked to prior to the show. But in a case like this, I've known J Pad forever, and I never knew the origin of his name. So that's great to get to learn that tonight.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Yeah, I really had I've been having a good time. For all the people out there, man, just uncovering the underground. These type of platforms is what's needed out here. I really appreciate it. It feels like some NPR type stuff, but we're doing it the independent way, man, and I really appreciate you having me on, bro.
No, absolutely. We love finding out about your career, hearing about your origins, because you know some of the shows I have, there are newer artists where they've only maybe been in the scene the last 5 or 6 years. Sometimes it's longer, but you have been in for quite a long time, as you said, almost 30 years at this point. You have a great perspective on the long game, not just the short game, and I think that's very important for people to get to hear, that you got to stick with it and you got to do it all your life. As you said, there's no time frame except the time frame you stick inside your own mind, because look at people like Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman did not get big until he was much, much older.
Much older.
And then he became huge. You know what I mean? And if most people would have quit by that time and said, you know what, I didn't make it, I'm giving up. Well, he didn't give up. He kept going, and then he became big.
You know, a guy that really, really stands out in my mind is a gentleman named Lee Fields. I don't know if you're familiar with Lee Fields, but Lee Fields is actually called the Little JB. In other words, his style was so similar to James Brown that people almost mistook him for James Brown for quite some time. Now, he had been an independent artist for years, but it took him until well into his 60s to get his final break in music. Like, he really didn't get a record deal until he was 60 years old or older. And so, you know, it just goes to show you that if you stick with your guns, you never know what's going to happen.
Especially in this day and age, because as we said, it's a little bit different than starting out, handing out mixtapes in the street and having to do that. You can put something up on the internet that sits for the next 10 years, and maybe you never got the recognition you wanted, and all it takes is the right person to click on that link and hear it, and then boom, it happens.
Believe it. Better believe it. I absolutely agree with you 110%.
Yeah, it's a different age, because at one point in time, if all you had was the street game and you quit doing it, you said, no one's listening to me, I'm done pushing it outside, walking around handing out tapes, then the only way you had a possibility of getting heard is if someone picked up one of those old discs or old cassette tapes and put it in, whereas nowadays, like I said, it can literally just linger for the next 15 years, and then someone click on it and say, wow, this person is a mega force to reckon with, let me reach out to them and see if we can give them a deal, or let me see if we can help promote them or give them opportunities that maybe you didn't get prior. So that is the biggest thing that you guys and gals out there have at your disposal now, is an endless source of promotion and marketing at your fingertips, and a bank of music and art that can stick around forever. It's not just, okay, it's on that tape until that tape gets broken or thrown away or deteriorates. It's, you can put that link up and it'll stay on that platform forever. And that's truly a golden tool to have at your disposal.
Golden tool. You're absolutely right about that, man. Thank you so much for that. That was key.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you what, folks, since you've been listening to the interview and finding out a little bit about J Pad, let's go ahead and jump into a little bit of his music now, take a break. We'll come back and continue the interview, but I think it's important for you guys to get to hear some of what he does, because obviously that's what you're here for. And we're going to jump into our first track, and that is going to be Hustle from the Muscle. We're going to be right back here on Uncovering the Underground in just a few minutes.
I gotta hustle from the muscle, get it. 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 I hustle from the muscle, yo, ain't no discussion. Any talk besides money, yo, I am strictly flushing. Just like the old NFL, you get a straight concussion. Smoke it Gorilla Glue and give your head combustion. Freeze the whole spinal cord, give it limited function. Hustle all the beats for sure, homie, I'll tell you something. King of the jingling like Shabba I-ting-a-ling. Mr. Olympian like Ronnie Coleman do his thing. Sorta like Tyson when he made the body swing. Follow with the uppercut, made your whole head ring. Tickle the keys like Ramsey Lewis, the Juggy do this. Sensei on microphones, the Juggy always knew this. I'm still the record breaker, or better yet, Drew Brees. I'm dangerous with my sting, just like African bees. You catch me anytime soon, and I say, nigga, please. Carl Lewis said this shit, I run the laps with ease. Hustle from the muscle, get it. I gotta hustle from the muscle, get it. I gotta hustle from the muscle, get it. I gotta hustle from the muscle, get it. Just like the Shamrock Shake, I keep the minty green. I am like Michael Jackson, I spin the Billie Jean. The herb be burning your nostrils just like some frothy steam. I'm popping all of the pimples, call me hydroxytine. Shout out to my sisters who's rocking afros without the sheen. Shout out to the sisters who's hustling, getting their own cream. It's time to expose the fake boss bitches. You just a leech from the ground, siphoning all the riches. Shit, I work hard for mine. No, you get none of mine. You get the dumb sucker and knock off Calvin Klein's. You ain't hear what I said, bitch, you better rewind. Treat me like close encounters, but of the third kind. And it's a damn shame you play on the lower level. You should reach for the sky, but you reach for the devil. The weed should get you high, but nose candy is your level. You lost up in the snow, consider yourself a pebble. Hustle from the muscle, get it. I gotta hustle, hustle for my muscle, muscle. Get it, get it, get it.
And you heard it first and foremost, folks. That was Hustle from the Muscle from J Pad Da Juggernaut, who is our guest on the show tonight. We've been kicking it with him for the last 44 minutes, talking about his background, how he got started, some of the fundamental ethics behind music these days, and how music has changed from years ago until now. So we've been getting some great informative information that hopefully you guys have enjoyed and are taking notes on. That gave you a little bit of a sample of what it is that he does, and we still got plenty more of that, tonight's show. If you are liking what you're hearing, please do me the favor of sharing the show, as I said, sharing his music, hunt him down on all social media, give him a like and a follow, buy his music and support him. That allows him to continue to do what he's doing. And he's been doing it for a long time, as we've already talked about, almost 30 years. And that push that you give him by buying his merch, following his pages, and sharing his content is what keeps us going, allows us to keep doing what we're doing. And that brings us into one of the things that I wanted to mention during tonight's show. You might listen to his music and say, wow, that was dope, and I really like his answers and his information that he's given, and know that he's been around for a while. But here's where it's really going to blow your mind. And I don't even know the number, so I'm going to find out along with you guys. J-Pad, if you had to give me an estimate, and I know it's not an easy answer to give, but if you had to give an estimate of how much music you have produced and released over the years, not even necessarily released. I know you have terabytes and terabytes of beats that are just sitting around, but if you had to give me an estimate on how many songs that you've produced since you've started, what kind of ballpark are we thinking?
Oh, in the tens of thousands. By this point, I've sat in front of literally 10,000 different people. You know what I mean? Just from the very beginning to the start to about now, I'd say very close to 10,000, if not 10,000. Just from all the traveling, just from all the mobile sessions that I've done, and the sessions that I was doing at the Tree Shack on the South Side. No matter where I was at, man, I've sat in front of hundreds and thousands of people.
And that's very, very impressive. And that's what I wanted the fans to hear tonight, is that right there is a testament of hard work, of dedication, of perseverance. He is one of the most accomplished underground producers that I personally know. Very impressed by the work he's done over the years. He's honestly one of the top producers that I've ever worked with. He is amazing at what he does, and he has the catalog behind it to prove his dedication to his craft. So if you are listening, please check him out.
I appreciate that, and not just to toot my own horn, but I also want to give a shout out to Skippy Ickham for coming through and doing some fantastic music with me. You know what I mean? Like we come from all different backgrounds, but it just comes to show you that when we get ourselves together and we're in the right mind frame and we have one accord, these great things can happen. So shout out to Skippy Ickham as well. You know what I'm saying? We've got some great music as well together, and dude's just an awesome guy. You know what I'm saying? I really appreciate it. Thank you very much, man.
Thank you, brother. It means a lot to me, and we certainly have. Like you said, it doesn't matter what your background is, what your ethnicity is, what anything is. Millions of paths can come together and form one road, and I think that's really an important thing, and I think we've done that with our music, with stuff that we've done in the past, not only together for me and you on music, but we've worked on other people's projects at the Tree Shack that we've gotten together, and they had me on, had you on, and there's been some great music that has come out of that, and great friendships. I mean, here it is, I don't even know how many years later. We're talking 8 years later from when we originally started working, and we're still friends, still in contact, and here it is, we're on the radio show tonight together. The world is a funny and mysterious place, and folks out there, one of the things that I think is important to go along with all the other information that you learned tonight or have heard is networking and friendships are everything. If you are the artist who stays hidden in the corner, you're never going to branch out. No matter how much you market, no matter how much you make and you produce, you will never reach the levels that you could reach if you put yourself out there. I know it's scary sometimes, but you have to go out and meet people. You have to network. You have to get in the scene so that people recognize who you are, because if you're just an online personality and you release music on there, you produce music, that's great, but people need to know who you are when you're out and about. They need to know who you are when you're at a show. You need to talk to the fans and other artists, because the connections you make aren't just at face value at that time, at that day. They full circle come around sometimes a year later, 5 years later, or even in a case like this where me and J Pad have worked together several times, have not been in contact as much recently because our lives are obviously very busy, but here it is, 8-9 years later, and boom, we're back together again for a night of radio.
Yes, indeed. Fantastic. It's been great, man. It's been so awesome, and uncovering the underground. I should definitely put a shameless plug in there. This is a great platform. Please take advantage of this. Everybody around the world, make sure you follow, like, and subscribe this particular program. It's essential for your mental food, for your soul, if you will. So please stay tuned in and locked in.
I really appreciate that, brother. And that's what we're trying to do with the shows. We're trying to bring you something a little bit different. Is it something altogether as a thought new? Absolutely not. There's been interviews, there's been discussions with people millions of times on millions of different shows. But the formula that we try to bring you and how we bring you is a little bit different than most. And, I try to keep it fun and entertaining. I try to keep it informative and add my own little flair to it. And it's been very, it's been very humbling to be able to bring on the people that I have on the show from all over the world, of all different backgrounds, all different types of art, from music to modeling, from actors to authors and everything in between. We never are going to limit ourselves on what we bring you, because too many people have just a hip-hop show or just a metal show. I try to bring you a little bit of everything, because I feel if someone out there is making their mark in the scene, then you should hear about it, because hear how they became who they are, what struggles they faced to get there, because all of these things accumulative together help you become the best artist you can be, whether you're already established or new to the game. It's something that you should learn and listen from. So if you are liking the show and you're liking what you're hearing, as I said earlier in this episode, I hate to be redundant, but please click the share button, share it around. As you do that, more people hear it. The bigger and better we move up the ranks in the podcast community, and the bigger and better things I will be able to do with the show. We are far from done. We have many, many shows to come for you. We actually are booked right now until April of 2020, every single week. So we are certainly reaching out to a lot of different people, and we'll be bringing you the funnest and best entertainment that we can.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm a fan. I'm staying locked in from here on out, man. You're my guy.
Well, thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Like I said, it's been nothing but love and support over the years that we've known each other. And to be honest with you, I've worked with quite a bit of artists over the years, and I would definitely put you up there with one of my top to work with. You've always been informative. You've taught me a lot of things. You took me kind of under your wing a little bit in the Tree Shack whenever I came by. I was good at what I did, but I still was very fresh to things in Pittsburgh. I had just moved here, and you kind of showed me some different connections. You showed me some different things that I certainly needed to know and learn, and wouldn't be who I am today without your knowledge and help that you shown me. So it was great to be able to get you on here and get you out there.
I appreciate it here. I appreciate it, bro. And man, and that's what we're supposed to be here doing. You know what I'm saying? It's about sharing and trading the information. It's about building, like Skippy said, great networking, great relationships. You can't go wrong when you have those type of things. Like I said, we haven't been around each other for a while, but it's just like we picked up where we left right off. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know what I'm saying? When you build those great networks and you build those great relationships, any type of business, it doesn't matter what kind of business that you're in, you're going to go far. And just nothing but kudos for the show. And man, it's been such a wonderful time being here, man. I'm having a great time.
Well, thank you so much, and I really appreciate that, like I said, and we'll definitely have to get you on again down the road, but I want you to tell the people out there, because I think you'd be a great voice to tell them, because you have experience with this. You have started out in Erie, Pennsylvania, and established yourself. You planted your seeds and your roots, so to speak, and from there you have grown, and your network has grown. You have transferred to Pittsburgh, and then you spent some time here with Tree Shack Studios, and have met a lot of artists and worked with a lot of people to establish yourself as a permanent name in the Pittsburgh music scene, even though you no longer live here. So now you have started and left a legacy that will not be forgotten in both Erie and in Pittsburgh, and then now you are in Atlanta. So I want you to kind of tell people out there, what is the key elements if you were moving to a new city? Because I feel a lot of people get discouraged by that, or even quit their careers because they've spent years building a foundation that they feel once they move is now over. Yet if you are of the right mind, you would realize that if anything, you've already built your castle, and now it's time to build a second one. What would you tell people is the key to starting over again in a new city? What would be, your advice to how to network and how to reach out to be able to get yourself where you need to be in a new location, new state, new city?
Oh, okay. Yes. First and foremost, so you have to have a very open mind. Kind of like have an idea of where you're going and what kind of scene is actually there before you actually get there. One of the things that I used to do is I used to drive down to Atlanta, and I used to drive to Pittsburgh just to get a feel of the vibe of the city and to get myself into a mental preparedness to say, hey, look, I'm moving to a bigger and a better place. I need to find ways to latch on to things and keep myself available for opportunities to meet people and develop relationships in these particular markets and realms. So I think that it's important to keep an open mind, do some research of the place that you plan to go to before you actually go to it. Map out a kind of like a little personal game plan for yourself, if you will. You know what I mean? To say, all right, well, in this first year, I plan to accomplish these things, and then just take it from there. And like I said, remember that the music business itself is not a sprint. It is a marathon. It will take you some time, but if you have the right approach and you have the right mentality and you keep yourself open to opportunity, that I can't stress that enough. Keep yourself open to opportunity. Like whatever my opportunity was, see, when I came to Pittsburgh, I had to realize that the studios at that time were oversaturated. So there really wasn't no room for me to fit in there. So I was like, well, how can I be a clever commodity out here? So what I did was I started the first official, if I'm not mistaken, mobile service when it came to studio. I said, hey, you know what? I called it Studio on Demand. I printed up a bunch of generic flyers. At that time, I don't even think I had a car, Skippy. I just got on the bus and I just went from side of town to side of town. And I just started handing out these flyers, and the spin on it, I was like, well, you know what people don't have? They don't have a service where a studio can come to the comforts of their home. To the comforts of their home, give them a quality recording, production on site, what have you? You know what I mean? But I was willing to take that step out and be a person of you know what I'm saying, of open, you know, possibilities. You know what I mean? And I think that that's what it takes when you're going to another city, when you're planning on doing it. Say you're going to Atlanta, you know, do the research on Atlanta. Come down a couple of times. Just stay for a few days. Try to market and network yourself around and see where that takes you. And if it takes you in the next to the next level, then that's great. But I would automatically say do the research, do the homework of that particular region where you're going, and then, you know what I'm saying, develop a great game plan. Go on down there. You know what I'm saying? Keep your bases open and seek opportunity, seek networking, seek building great relationships. And I think that those things right there are the most important things when you're actually getting ready to take it to the next level.
And those are essential. And I mean, another thing, and we're going back to something we mentioned earlier, folks, is you have the means at your fingertips to be able to do a lot more than you once did. So if you look at a region, you can search the top 15, top 20 clubs in that region. Then from there, you can figure out which are hip-hop clubs, which are metal clubs, which are rock clubs. Find out what the demographics are. Eliminate the ones that wouldn't be your, you know, key element or key fan base that you want to reach. Then from there, look at reviews of the place and see, okay, is a lot of people having a good time here, both, you know, entertainers and fans? Oh, wait a second. I see that this is a popular club, but I'm seeing nothing but complaints on the reviews of this, and this. So then you can start to calibrate what would be the best location for me, what would be the best venue for me and my fans and my fan base that I'm ultimately trying to gain from. So that is a huge thing. Look up the artists in the area that are on right now, that are doing big things. Reach out to them. Let them know, hey, I'm new to the area. I would love to, you know, speak with you or meet you. I'd love to talk with you. You know, sometimes they'll shoot you down. Unfortunately, in this scene, there's a lot of ego that goes around, and a lot of people, unfortunately, don't want to help someone else succeed. It was always backwards from my mentality, but a lot of people would hold you down because they want to be ahead of you. Certainly. I was always under the mentality that I'll build up everyone around me, because then instead of one man trying to build a foundation, you have dozens and we can all rise together. It's sometimes different mentalities, but you have to reach out to the people that are really doing it in that city or that town and find out what works for them, what hasn't worked for them. And from there, you can build your kingdom in that new area. And like I said,
Absolutely.
You've done it time and time again, and that's impressive. And it's not something that you have to feel, folks, that if you leave your city, that you've ruined everything you've spent years on. No, if you've done it correctly and you've built it the right way, your legacy will continue to live on from that city as you go to the new one and establish yourself there.
Totally agree on that. Yep. Have no fear. Be relentless with your belief. You know what I mean? And I think that a lot of people could benefit from that saying right there. You know, you have to ask. I think that people ask for things and they want things and they desire things, but I think they just don't know how to believe in it actually coming. I think that if you change that mind state and say, hey, look, I believe that this is what's meant for me. It will come to you. It will come to you. Just stick the course, have a lot of belief, have a lot of strong faith and foundation, and I think you'll be fine.
That is the number one thing you have to have, because here's the way I look at it. You have to believe in yourself before anybody else can. And a lot of people say, well, why should I have such faith in myself when no one else seems to care? Well, here's the thing. If I meet you and I can tell that you don't believe in what you're selling and what you're pushing, why would I believe in it? So whenever I meet you and I can tell that you strongly stand behind what you do and you 100% are your own biggest fan and supporter, then I'm going to say, you know what, this guy has something. But I meet people who are very talented that are discouraged, and they're selling a product, but I don't feel that they fully stand behind their product. So if you're trying to sell me something and I can tell you don't believe in it, then right off the bat, I'm feeling like something's sketchy here, and I back off it. But whenever you are your biggest supporter and fan, and you know that you always have your own back and you're always there, even through the good and bad times, then you have what you need to be able to push it to people for them to buy it. But if you don't believe in yourself, they're certainly not going to believe in you either.
Absolutely, boss. Couldn't have said it any better myself.
Why don't we go ahead and jump into another break real quick? I want people to hear a little bit more of your music tonight, so why don't we go into Higher Than I'm Gonna Be, or Higher Than I Gotta Be.
Yeah, that's actually a good record that they're playing out on the West Coast right now, so thank you for playing that.
Absolutely. Well, you heard it here, folks. We're going to jump into it right now. This is J Pad Da Juggernaut, Higher Than I Gotta Be, here on Uncovering the Underground Radio Show. We'll be right back after this song.
Juggernaut.
You can't see me, I'm so fly in the sky. When you look into my eyes, I am higher than I gotta be. I stay lifted off the motherfucking pine. When you look into my eyes, I am higher than I gotta be. I'm staying high, I'm staying high, I am staying high, I'm staying high, I'm staying high. Roll that shit up, man. You know how we get down. We roll the best, I am staying high. I stay high, then the motherfucker eyes chinky. We smoke that strong pack, the type to leave your car stinky. Let's roll up 4 stogies, keep them in rotation. My brain is froze, I'm straight on stagnation. I keep the curly top, these niggas swear to God I'm Haitian. Ladies be loving the juggy, I keep their fascination. I roll with Loud Pack Freezy cause he stay Johnny blazing. He got me nervous as hell, the way his pocket's stankin'. It ain't no secret the juggy been smoking kush for years. You can pass me the L, but don't pass me no beers. Higher than I gotta be every single fucking day. You bitches keep the cow going, we take me far away. You can't see me, I'm so fly in the sky. When you look into my eyes, I am higher than I gotta be. I stay lifted off the motherfucking pine. When you look into my eyes, I am higher than I gotta be. I'm staying high, I'm staying high, I am staying high, I am staying high, I'm staying high. We roll the best, we roll the best, I am staying high. I smoke loud, I smoke 50 and regular weed. Give me some white rhino, juggy gonna stampede. To the bodega, get some Vegas, that's my fucking mission. To blow the stanky and put my mind out of commission. The weed Olympian, I'm higher than the pole jump. I'm lifted like I was a tie on an air pump. I got a bad habit, I think I need some help. I'm so high, I butterfly, call me Michael Phelps. Higher than Cat Williams, smoking in ciphers with Snoop. Higher than Rainbow Threes when they switch through the hoop. Higher than flying overseas on a jumbo jet. High as I could get. You can't see me, I'm so fly in the sky. When you look into my eyes, I am higher than I gotta be. I stay lifted off the motherfucking pine. When you look into my eyes, I am higher than I gotta be. I'm staying high, I'm staying high, I am staying high, I am staying high, I'm staying high. We roll the best, we roll the best, I am staying high.
And we are back on Uncovering the Underground Radio podcast show that is Higher Than I Gotta Be by J Pad Da Juggernaut, who is our guest tonight on the show. We have been spending the last hour or so talking to him, picking his brain, finding out about him as a person, as an artist, and hearing some of the great knowledge that he has to share about his experiences in the last 30 years of making music and rapping, producing music, DJing. One of the things I wanted to jump into, and by the way, kudos on that song. It's a great track. But
hey, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. One of the things I wanted to jump into is the art of DJing. So you said that you started out, doing a lot with different types of music, but DJing obviously was one of the main important things. And I feel that the art of real DJing is almost gone for the most part. I mean, it's very rare to come across a real DJ. There's a lot of people, folks, that stand behind a set of turntables or a MIDI, panel, a machine, micro, all these different, machines out there that you can use, but they're not really doing anything. It's already pre-programmed. They hit the play button, then they pretend to be DJing.
No scratching, no elements of the DJ factor that really made hip-hop DJing exactly what it is. You know what I'm saying? And I do embrace the new technology. Even if you have a DJ controller, you should at least try to learn how to scratch on it. You should learn how to, try to blend and scratch and do some of the trickeries that you see some of the guys that paved the way for this particular, and that embody those elements when it comes to this music. I think it has become more gimmicky. I think it has actually, these things have actually been a crutch. But fortunately for me, I came up in a time where, I was there when Grandmaster Flash became Grandmaster Flash. I was there when, Kool Herc and the guys. I was a little guy. I was a little kid, but at that time, I'm saying, those early 70s, I was around at that time, and I was able to. I think the first person I heard scratch on some turntables was like 1978, maybe 1978. I was probably like 6 or 7 years old, but I seen the guy going back and forth on the turntables, and it was just amazing, man. You know what I'm saying? And just to see the artistry. Knowing that not only is DJing just it's for some it's a job, but for some others it's more than just a job. You know what I'm saying? Yes, it is a way that you can actually make a living, make money, but it's also something that like a love and appreciation for the actual, culture side of the DJ art form. You know what I'm saying? It really is something that you should embrace. You should make an attempt to at least try, even if you got, like I said, even if you don't have an original set of turntables and you have a DJ controller. If the DJ controller can scratch, try to learn how to do it and use the crossfader. Try to do the things that really make DJing a very special tool in this music. I think that's just really an important thing. That's why I love DJing, is because I always had an appreciation and a respect for the great DJs that were out there. My cousin was a DJ way back on WPTS, the Pit Station, and he was one of the founding fathers of, the hip hop scene in Oakland. And so, I got to give a shout out to my cousin for that. You know what I'm saying? Because he kind of inspired me to get behind a set of turntables and try, because he was the first one to do it himself. And we were doing this in the early 80s, man. I want to say this was pre-Michael Jordan eras. So, you know what I mean? So I was beatbox. That was my first trade in hip hop. That was my first element, if you will, and it was really something that I embraced. But as I was doing the beatbox, my cousin was scratching on the turntables. And we always used to take, me and my friends, we always used to take, we used to take we would take the Fisher Price turntable, man, because that needle was damn near indestructible. And we would cut up anything from Richard Pryor to Rudy Ray Moore to, the fabulous Dramatics, any of these great records. And we would just learn how to scratch. And it was just a lot of fun. It was a way to stay connected to the music. And I think if you embody some of those things, it really does take your musical ability to the next level when it comes to DJing.
It does, and I always have been one who've loved the art of DJing, and it's weird because I feel that DJing set forth the roots for hip-hop to come out, and then
certainly
hip-hop then ultimately, throughout the years of transition and evolution, have kind of downed and ruined the art of DJing. So it's weird that one started the other, and then it kind of dumbed down DJing, because there's not a lot of DJing anymore, or what I consider to be real DJing. I hate when I see someone standing behind a setup of some sort and not doing anything. They're literally pressing play and then stop or next.
Yeah, using a laptop.
They're using a laptop and hitting next. And there's nothing wrong with having a laptop mixed in with your DJ setup. But when you were literally just a laptop, no turntables, no MIDI players, no MIDI keyboards, and you were just pressing next or stop, and then I meet fans are like, oh, DJ Bullshit was fucking dope. I loved his music. And you're like, bro, that is not a real DJ. He literally pressed play on a computer. And it always blew my mind, because the art of DJing is so passionate, it's so deep, and it takes a very special soul to be a very good DJ. But unfortunately, they're few and far between. You take every 100 DJs, which, I'm talking even talented DJs, and then you really dig into that. How many of them are really phenomenal what they do? It's few and far between, like I said. But when you find one, it is an art form that is lost, but it is an art form that I have always truly loved and cherished, and loved watching them do, and you guys do, what it is that you do on the turntables.
Yes, indeed. And shout out to all the DJs that are out there actually really doing that DJing move. I tip my cap to y'all. You know what I'm saying? It's a lost art form, but man, there's guys out there that still do it, and they still paving the way. And much love to y'all. Shout out to every last one of y'all.
Absolutely. Major shout out to you guys for keeping it going. Guys and gals. I don't want to be sexist on that.
Gals too. Yes, indeed.
Not as often that you see a gal behind the turntables, but it does happen. I've seen a few good ones, so much love to all of you for keeping it going.
Strides as it goes along, and I have nothing but love for it. Anybody embracing the culture, man, I salute y'all.
Now, do you think if you didn't have the DJ aspect behind you as your background, if you would have never got into the DJing side, do you think it would have still led you down the same path to being a producer and a rapper, or do you think it would have ultimately, changed everything for you without that key element?
To be honest with you, without the records and the turntable, I probably wouldn't. Even though I did still embrace it with making the music with my mouth, doing the beatboxing when I was a kid. I used to enter contests when I was a kid and just win, just based off of my beatboxing ability. But you have to emulate what a DJ is doing, and that's what beatboxing is. Beatboxing is taking what you hear coming out of a boombox or out of some speakers, which is really provided by a DJ, if I'm not and that's just what it is. You know what I mean? And so, yes, the DJ thing, being able to grab turntables or scratch on turntables when I was a kid, and this, that, and the third, it played a huge part in it. I don't know if it would actually have the same impact if I didn't.
No, absolutely. It's I think definitely something that turned you into who you are today, and I think it's important that you had found that love and that passion for that, because it has spawned years and years of great, amazing, beats, music, production,
Yes.
and art. So, I think that it's important. As I said, it was the founding step for a lot of hip hop, for a lot of artists. It's just unfortunate that nowadays that element's mainly gone, but it still.
Yes, the break beat would never be the break beat if Kool Herc never took the instrumental part of the record and just kept going and looping it back and forth between two turntables. So if that element never existed, then making beats would not be what they are now. You know what I mean? And to this day, I still find a nice crispy sample, and I make sure that I embody that, because it was from the DJing. It was from the DJ that I actually had the inspiration to find out what sampling was all about. You know what I mean? And so it really is a key element. It's probably the most key element. It's not the only element. All of the elements of hip hop make up hip hop. And so, we always have to embrace and respect them for what they are, but the DJ is a critical and most instrumental piece.
I agree, and if you're out there listening, please do your research, listen to some older music, listen to some videos of the original forefathers of DJing, of hip-hop, find out about the roots. If you truly love hip-hop, if you truly love rap, then find out about its essence, about its roots, and get back to that, about the culture.
August 11th, 1973, that was the birth of hip-hop. Okay?
So go back and research it.
Yeah, make sure people go ahead and check that out. Kool Herc and a select few others were the founding forefathers. I'm not just going to say it was Kool Herc alone, even though he's gotten the credit for he was the first one to throw the parties. He was the first one to throw the block parties and start that movement. But there was others that came along that really made an instrumental piece to it. And so, yes, do your research. You know what I'm saying? Remember the year 1973. That was the birth year of hip hop. And, do your research and know what it is that you're doing. Because if you don't know, the history of this movement, you're doing yourself a total disservice. So do your research.
And that's the problem, is I have a lot of people that I hear that say, oh, I'm a huge rap fan. And I'm like, who are your favorite artists? And everyone that they name is within the last 4 or 5 years. And I'm like, you listen to anybody else besides them? No. And then I start to ask them questions because, obviously I am big on the interview side or just, getting to network and know people. And I start asking questions and realize this person knows nothing related to hip-hop prior than the last 5 years.
And so you know what? And I think it's also a responsibility for people such as from my generation who actually saw hip-hop from its inception to actually give back and educate the younger folks, which is what sometimes I'll do when I do a post on Instagram, or I do a post on Twitter, or I do a post on Facebook. I'll put a significant time in our history so people understand that this is something that didn't just start overnight. This was something that's been building up since the 70s, and it still exists today. And hip-hop is damn near 50 years old. And so, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, there's 50 years of history, and you should be aware. And it's funny because the stuff that I'm starting to hear on the radio now is a recircumventing of an era of hip hop that was long lost. And it's a beautiful thing to see, but those people are starting to embrace the knowledge of the history and more need to embrace it as well, because I think you would see a lot more successful ventures in hip hop if people understood the history of it and what it stood for when they actually first started the movement. And when they first do that, once they do that, then I think that it'll make a lot more sense to them, their careers and their understanding and knowledge of this particular genre of music will be vastly advanced, and they'll have a much stronger connection.
It certainly would, because how do you stand for a movement? How do you stand for a cause if you don't know how the cause originally started? You can certainly ride the bus, but it doesn't mean that you understand why you're on it. So, and I think that's very important for people to do. Now, if you could name one of the things that in your career throughout the 30 years that you've been making music that you don't regret doing, but you wish you could go back and change. You've done it, you don't regret doing it, but you certainly wouldn't do it again. What's one of the things that, musically you have done that you realized after time, maybe you didn't do it right, maybe you wish you could have done it differently? You wouldn't change it because it made you who you are today, but you definitely would give advice to someone else to not follow those steps and repeat what you have done.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that that's a key thing. Do your research, do your homework. You know what I mean? Know the history of this particular genre of music. Know the history of what it is that you do. Know why rappers rap. Know why, the beat maker is the beat maker. Know why the break dancer is the break dancer. Know why the graffiti artist is the graffiti artist. Know why, you know what I mean? Know why the DJ is the DJ.
Exactly, because all those are huge elements to the culture and how it all started. And that's things that you guys need to know to fully understand where this came from, why we are where we are today, and the evolution of this fantastic art.
Absolutely. The evolution is an amazing thing. A lot of people, like I said, would benefit tremendously from it, and you'll have a better connection to what it is and understand why it is that you do what you do.
Absolutely. Now, question for you. I ask all my guests this question. If you could choose between the two, which would you choose? And the first option is to make one song that is just an amazing, amazing hit that across the world people are listening to it. That one song would financially support you the rest of your life. It would put you on the map and make you famous for the rest of your life. But the downside of that is every other song you write is garbage. Or
would be compared to that song, yes.
Or be compared to that song. Or the second option would be, do you write a lifelong hit after hit after hit, but they are not hits because no matter how you push it, no one ever seems to come across your music or hear it. So you can have all the fame, but you only have one good song, everything else is trash. Or you have hundreds of great, amazing songs that no one ever hears, no matter how hard you push it, and you remain lost in the shadows. Which would you rather choose?
You know what? I would have to opt for the first option, because of the fact that it solidifies you. It not only takes care of your quest to know if you can make a hit, but it also will set you up for a lifelong residual income. And I think taking care of your family with your gifts is extremely important. It's priority. And I would rather have that one single that carries my legacy throughout the entire, thing, than to have just done millions of songs that actually went nowhere, didn't matter, you know what I'm saying, or weren't able to take care of my family, knowing that I had every ability in the world to do such. You know what I mean? I think that's just my most important message with that. Would I made a bunch of great records? Absolutely. But would I be satisfied if only one of them turned a few $1 million profit on me? Oh, I would absolutely be satisfied with that. It's not that I wouldn't feel the sting on the other side, but I think it's just whether it's worth, you know what I'm saying, worth taking the blunt end of that and making sure that my family is secure, or, you know what I'm saying, doing this lifelong body of work and nothing materialized from it. You know what I mean? Like, I think that it's taking a step out on faith, you know what I'm saying, making a hit record one good time. You know what I'm saying? I think will just solidify all the work that you put in over the years.
No, and that's a great answer, because I love that question, because I get different answers every time I ask it, and I get different good background reasons as to why. And that was a great one, because here's my thinking. It goes back to something we said earlier. A lot of people use a cop-out answer where you ask them about fame and about money, and they say, I'm not in this for fame. I'm not in this for money. I'm in it for the passion. And that's admirable, but you are either a fool or you're a liar. And you got to pick which one you are, because here's the thing. I'm in it for passion. I'm in it for love. I love what I do. I love getting my music and my art and my radio show and everything else out there. But at the end of the day, if I am making no money from it and I am spending money and I am rapidly losing money on this, then I am a fool.
Yes.
You are in it to make money. Now, is my end game to simply make money and not care about anything along the way? Absolutely not. But I certainly am in what I do to make a profit, to make money for me and my family, to be able to sustain what I'm doing. Now, you have a lot of costs in this industry and in this art. And you need to be able to make money from it to pay at least your costs, that you break even and you're not losing money. And obviously Absolutely. The overall goal is to gain profit. But for people that say, I don't care about making money at all, I don't need to make a cent off my music, I just enjoy doing it, I'm sorry, but I have to call bullshit, because, like I said, you are either a fool when you're naive and you're not going to make it in this game because you're going to lose too much money that your affordability is not going to be there to be able to continue to do it, or you're saying that to sound good to the public, because so many people say that because they're like, I'll win over my fans by telling them I don't care about money, I don't care about fame. And I've said that before too, don't get me wrong. And my context behind that is, I don't necessarily care if I become the biggest or if I make it rich, but I still, at the end of the day, and I'm saying it right here, folks, you can catalog this, you can play this back to me years from now, I am in it certainly to make a profit. It's not my end game, but it is something that's essential to continue to do this. So think about
Absolutely.
that out there, folks. Are you in the mentality that you don't need to make money, then you need to revamp your thinking. If you are saying that just to sound good, you probably need to be more realistic with yourself and your fans, because I'm going to call you out on it.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it any better myself, bro.
I'll put you on the spot. I will call you out in front of your fans, and then you got to come back with some type of rebuttal.
Yeah, you got to figure it out from there.
You got to figure it out from there. Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to jump into one more song. After that, we'll come back. We will give out our closing thoughts, your shout-outs to anybody you'd like to thank, and then also where the folks can check out your music at, and we'll wrap things up for the night. So let's go ahead and jump into one more. Why don't you tell me which of the two you want me to play? We got Schemin' on the Big Money, and we got All the Way Live.
You know what? I think let's run All the Way Live, because on that particular record, I'm actually playing all of the elements live on that particular record. I played the bass, played the Rhodes keyboard, Rhodes piano, and the trombone, and did all pretty much everything except for the drums completely live. So I think we should run that one. Let them check that out.
No, I think that'd be a perfect closing song for you. So, folks, you're listening to it out here. This is truly to show you what kind of skills J Pad Da Juggernaut has by full production, by just really being a mega force to reckon with, by being a juggernaut, obviously. So we're going to go ahead and play All the Way Live by J Pad Da Juggernaut. We'll be right back on Uncovering the Underground.
Check it out, y'all.
Text, be witty with your shit, you know what I mean? Hey, it's all the way live. Shit ain't no job. What up, though, everybody? Nigga coming smooth, all the way live. Nigga coming smooth, all the way live. Nigga coming smooth, all the way live. All the way live, all the way live. Nigga coming smooth, all the way live. Nigga coming smooth, all the way live. Nigga coming smooth, all the way live. All the way live, all the way live. Shit ain't no jive, shit ain't no jive. The juggy has arrived. I'm classic like turntable spinning the 45. Cooling out with max slacks, never drink cognac. Corduroy blazer, can't go baseball cap. It's in the air tonight, but this ain't Phil Collins. Smooth wildin' for the evening, no Henry Rollins. I sip the champagne because cooling's my campaign. My smooth on damn flame. Here come the horns again. Juggernaut the professor, I'm so chill with it. I'm smoother than the equalizer, gripping steel with it. Beretta with the silencer, I'm ill with it. Dip like a thief in the night, now let the hook spit it. Nigga coming smooth, all the way live. Nigga coming smooth, all the way live. Nigga coming smooth, all the way live. All the way live, all the way live. Nigga coming smooth, all the way live. Nigga coming smooth, all the way live. Nigga coming smooth. All the way live, all the way live. Shit ain't no jive. Sorta like Aquaman, I control the seat. Flying like Peter Pan, peeping landscape is street. Just like the 1,000 mattresses, you cannot find the P. Those vines are loud and colorful, you cannot find a G. Backslap your ass with the pimp pen, I'm sugar free. I'm like Neo up in the Matrix, all telepathy. Juggernaut, stay smooth in the mug from head to feet. The thrill of victory, the agony of defeat. I make the rap shit look easy, some say that I'm a cheat. Just cause I'm doing them greasy, I never miss a beat. Sorta like Captain Kirk, I'm the master of the fleet. Like Dr. Spock, my 2 fingers to put your ass to sleep. Nigga coming smooth, all the way live. Nigga coming smooth, all the way live. Nigga coming smooth, all the way live. All the way live, all the way live. Nigga coming smooth, all the way live. Nigga coming smooth, all the way live. Nigga coming smooth, all the way live. All the way live. Shit ain't no jive. Smooth.
All right, folks, we are back on Uncovering the Underground radio podcast show, and that was All the Way Live by J Pad Da Juggernaut. As you have heard, if you've been listening to the show, we've been with him for the last hour and a half. We have gotten to know him as an artist, as a person, and much more great information he shared with you on coming up as an artist, the do's and don'ts, and everything in between. You got to hear 3 of his songs tonight, so as I already mentioned, if you do like what you've heard, please check out his music, support his art, and keep him going. He's been at it for a long time. Some of you have not been alive as long as he's been making music, and that's just a testament for what it is that he's doing and has done. So make sure you support him. I want to jump in and have him tell you guys where it is that you can check out his music and find out about him on social media. And then from there, he's going to let you know who he would like to thank for, where he is today. And then we'll go ahead and give you some announcements on next week's show, and we will go ahead and launch, or end the show for the evening. So why don't you tell us where we can check out your stuff, J-Pad?
Okay, yeah, no problem. Real simple on that one. Log on to my website, custombeatking.com. Custombeatking.com. You can find everything in there. everything J Pad Da Juggernaut. My Twitter feed's on there. My music is on there for sale. Shout out to Bandcamp because I distribute through Bandcamp.com. You can actually find out, all my social ports are connected to the website. You can shoot me an email. Anything that you want to do. You can purchase beats. I even have loop packs and drum kits for producers for sale on there. Everything is at custombeatking.com. You can find my Facebook, everything right there. And as far as who I want to give a shout out to, boy, there are so many people that I'm going to miss. But shout out to mostly my city, Erie, Pennsylvania, for making me who I was. You know what I'm saying? For building my foundations up there. All the artists that came up with, Lazy G's, Gunplay Records, and a bunch of other up there. Shout out to you guys. Shout out to the city of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Shout out to anybody that ever booked me on a mobile studio session. I give all y'all the credit, any neighborhood that I went into, I made it out of there by the grace of God. So thank you guys so much, because these are dangerous times. And I really want to give a shout out to you guys. Shout out to everybody that participated at the Tree Shack, Skippy Ickham included. You know what I'm saying? That was just a great melting pot right in the heart of the south side of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I also want to give a shout out to Lovely Radio, GOENT on the West Coast, Miss Toy, and the whole GOENT squad for having me come aboard and be a part of the team and running around with this LA movement, and really appreciate that. And as far as Atlanta is concerned, Open Mic Life TV, I was the winner at their beat battle. I was featured at a whole bunch of different competitions down there. But shout out to all those guys: A-Town Mike, S.P, Black the Dealer, Network, Dirty Red, my whole entire Atlanta family, Law, anybody else that I might have missed, Mr. 357, which is Dolo the Hitman, my man, Swag Rich 100, Old Boy 100, Tower, used to be manager for Shorty Low, rest in peace, Shorty Low. I want to give a shout out to everybody that's been a part of the Juggernaut experience all the way through, even some of my great folks up here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and in Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? So much love.
Absolutely. And right there, folks, is a testament to what I said earlier. Get out there and network with people, meet people, because if you don't get out there and network and meet people, you certainly are not going to have a list of people like J-Pad just mentioned there. That right there just says how many people he's connected with. And now it's just a small drop in the bucket of truly all the different people out there that have been a part of this journey.
I missed a lot of people. I missed a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to also Manny from Pretty Ricky, one of my other great artists that I've worked with, Emmanuel. So shout out to him as well.
Oh, certainly. And like I said, folks, get out there, meet people, because that will be your legacy you leave behind. Not just what you have done, but what the people you have met have done, what you have networked with them. So please make sure you do that.
Absolutely.
Did want to tell you.
Meister, respect.
Absolutely. And I did want to give a shout out to everyone listening to the show this evening. Like I said,
shout out to everybody.
Yeah, everyone. Thank you for tuning into what we had to say tonight, for listening to us and taking joy in what we have to share with you. And every week, you guys tuning in and sharing and loving the show. Hit that share button and like button, the follow button. As I said, on our live broadcast, if you do want to talk to us live, you can go through Spreaker.com or through the Spreaker app on the app market. You can leave us comments, feedbacks. You can ask questions of the guests. This is a pre-recorded episode, so just please leave us comments and we'll get back to them as quickly as we can. If you have any ideas for the shows, any suggestions, want to be on the show, want to get yourself featured musically or do a shout out for the show, you can do so by hitting us up at brutalbusinessent@gmail.com. And like I said, check out everything going on with Brutal Business at www.teambrutalbusiness.com. Next week's show, we are going to be airing this specific episode, as you know, if you're listening now or after the fact. We're going to be airing this on the 22nd of October, which would be actually next Tuesday. And then we are going to be following that with, on the 24th, we do have an episode with Trouble from Washington State. He is actually an artist on my label, Brutal Business Entertainment, doing a lot of different things with the graphic art side, with video production, and obviously being an amazing rapper and artist himself. Definitely has a different sound and style that I think all of you guys will love something need to hear. We'll follow that by the following week. We're doing a episode on the 30th, which is a Wednesday, rather than the normal Thursday. Thursday is Halloween, so I figured we would do Devil's Night instead. And we are going to be doing the Devil Night episode with Drew West. And that's another artist, if you have not heard, you definitely need to check out because he is sick. So make sure you check those out. Check out our other radio shows, Celestial Oddities, Pair of Normal Guys podcast, and Celestial Oddities, Oddworld Listeners Encounters. It's a 2-part show we bring to you 2 to 3 times a month, and that's involving the content matter of ghosts, demons, cryptids, aliens, UFOs, anything out of the box we certainly bring to you. Our most recent episode was one about inner Earth civilizations. It's very interesting. You need to check that out. And then our next one is going to be Listeners Encounters, which will be airing tomorrow, the 23rd, which is just stories from all over the world of people calling and telling us what they've encountered. So check out all things Brutal Business, all of our upcoming future radio shows, and everything we're doing as a label. As we already said, check out everything that J Pad Da Juggernaut got going on. Support his music, support his links, go to his website. And other than that, we appreciate everything you guys do for us out there and listening in. We love you. And J Pad, it was very great having you on the show, brother.
Oh, man, appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
No problem. You guys have a great night, and we'll catch you next time on Uncovering the Underground.
Peace.